Right, well here's one I've been looking forward to receiving from GitUp. This is the new F1 action camera. This is GitUp's first native 4K action camera. Got the Ambarella chip, Ambarella 12 and Sony sensor, and capable of real 4K. So let's see what you get. Camera. In fact, to be honest, I've already cheated and taken this out and taken a few test shots, and I was very impressed with them, I must say. But anyway, come on to those later. So there's the camera, and in this little box, what have we got? We have got a mount that the camera clips into, which has got a 1/4 inch tripod screw on the end. Let me see, that presumably just slides in. Yeah, that just slides in like so, easy, and clips out like so, easy. Not much to explain with this one. We have got USB charging cable, obviously for retrieving files as well. We've got some more stickers, GitUp stickers. We have a user manual, which looks in pretty good English and quite thorough. GitUp have been going for a while now, they should know what they're doing. And more importantly, or crucially, we have got an FPV lead. Now FPV is first person view for video, because as you can see by this format, they describe it as an action camera, but it's mostly intended for use on quadcopters and for FPV flying. That's where you plug into a transmitter and you can see when you're flying. And in fact, I do some of that myself. So this is the FPV lead, and as you can see, they're marked up power, and I happen to know that yellow and black are video out, and blue, I think that one's for transmitters where you can actually change from video to still mode by pressing buttons on the transmitter, which is not a facility I have, but I have done some FPV, and with a bit of luck I'll show you what it looks like on a screen. So good little camera there for FPV. So let's take another look at the camera. You've got a shutter button, you've got power on off, which you also use in conjunction with this one, which is marked settings, to scroll through and change settings. You've got a 160-degree wide angle lens there. You've got the micro USB charging port, also for retrieving your files, but of course also this is AV, or video out, if you're flying FPV with it. From what I've read, it's not a removable battery, so I guess if you'd ever had to replace it, you'd have to split the case. Now it doesn't come with a card. You're going to need, if you're going to shoot 4K, a decent, good brand, class 10, but particularly you need one that is high speed, which should have a 1 there. Mine's only got a 3. I thought, oh well, never mind, I've been shooting some 4K with it, we'll see how that worked. But you should have one that's UHS 1, I think, ultra high speed. So, and the card goes in that way, logo towards the back. As far as the form goes, this reminds me quite a bit of the Firefly Q6, which is a little FPV camera from Hawkeye company. Major difference of course is this will actually shoot native 4K, whereas the Firefly is limited to 1080-60. It's quite a different form to the original Git 2, as you can see, and quite different to the new G3 Duo. Weight wise, it comes in at, can't quite settle down, 71 grams, compared to the Git 2. Actually it's heavier than the Git 2, which was 67, and the Duo will be even heavier still, I'm sure, 86. Even without reading the manual, I found changing the settings easy. I powered it up, easy, press and hold for 2 or 3 seconds, and as you can see, you've got a little display here. Now that's telling me that at 64 gig I've got 7 hours 15 minutes recording time. A little shaky hand shows I've got the gyro stabilization, in other words EIS, on. I think that one shows me that I'm metering average as opposed to spot. That shows I'm in video mode, and that shows the battery's still charged, which, considering I only gave it a very quick charge before I dashed downtown to get some clips, as we've got some blue sky, That's very good, really. So obviously to start recording it's just a question of press the shutter button. You've got a countdown, hopefully you can see that, and it says that I'm in 1080-60. Stop that beep. Now changing settings was just a matter of using the combination of these buttons. So press that settings button. You've got mode normal. If you go through this, you can scroll through time-lapse, slow-mo, video plus photo, which will be periodic photos whilst you're taking video, resolution, 1080, looping, and normal. Looping is if you want to use it for dashcam use. And then press this one, you come down to the resolutions, and in fact it will do 4K at 30 frames a second. Will actually do 720 at 240 frames a second. So that's 4K at 30, 2160, 1440 at 60, but it will actually do 1080 at 120 frames a second. So I tend to use 1080-60, quality normal. Most of my shots were at quality normal as opposed to super fine, although I did a couple of tests with fine, and there should be quite a few more shots, but I just took some downtown. Quality fine, I tend to leave it at normal. Turn date stamp on and off. Metering average, white balance, auto, colour. You've obviously got a choice of different colour here. Art, which probably is a bit more vivid, or GitUp, or sepia, or negative even, black and white, vivid, 70s film, pop art, or GitUp. I've just shot at GitUp colour. Sharpness medium. EV is exposure value, EIS is gyro stabilization, on or off, and audio on or off. So that's straightforward enough. Oh, in fact, like I say, if you want to change, it's a question of you go into that, quality normal, and press shutter to scroll through. I shall leave it in normal, and then when you want to come out of that, you just press the settings button, like so. Now if I go into camera mode, stills mode, with a short press of the power button and then press settings, I've got yet another menu, this time of course to do with the stills mode. So you've got mode normal, which will scroll through burst photos, change how many photos you do on a burst, timer, time lapse, normal, burst, timer, which must be self timer, time lapse. You've got resolution you can change, shutter auto, as opposed to actually setting the shutter speed 30th, 1 second, so you can do long duration exposures if you want. I'll put that back to auto, scroll through back to auto. You've got date stamp on or off, I'll change that to off. Zoom off, that'll be a digital zoom. Metering, you've got center or average, I prefer average. White balance, colour, GitUp, which I showed you before. You've got a fisheye adjusting thing down there, sharpness medium, fisheye adjust on off, and DNG. I'll have to look that one up, I'll put it on the screen. So that's the camera settings mode. Press settings again, you're back into camera mode, and press power once more, and then you've got another setup menu. Quick record on or off, Wi-Fi on or off. Wi-Fi you can switch between, oh it's not switching for some reason, it should be 2.4 or 5.8. Bluetooth on or off, which will be for the GitUp remote, which is an optional extra. I'll probably try, I've already got the remote because I have a couple of other Gits, as they say. System, that's TV system. Default mode, video, in other words when you fire it up. On-screen display will be, if you're flying FPV, whether or not it transmits data like time and stuff via the video transmitter on your model plane or quadcopter. LED on. Flip, that will be for car use if it's upside down. Beeps on or off, auto off. I will change that to auto off 3 minutes. Time setup, date, month, day, year, day, month, year. Model stamp off, logo stamp off, external power, charge. You can change it to go charge, or record with external power, which would probably be for FPV use, so that when you fire up and put power in, it will start recording. I shall leave that on charge. BT boot, that's Bluetooth boot. Frequency, auto, format the card and default settings. So that covers that, and that's firmware version. And I haven't yet checked, but that's pretty recent, 10th of October. So to come out of that, just a question of pressing settings again. So there we are. And as you can see, you've got a light flashing there when you're recording, so you can see whether it's recording or not. If I switch to stills mode by brief press of the power button, you just get a beep when you take a picture, like so. And the light's gone to blue, so that you know that you're in stills mode, which is also useful, especially if it's a bit dark. So press that, press settings a couple of times, and I'm back into normal shooting mode. Well, I've already given it a brief charge, but I'm going to stick it on charge some more, get some more test shots. I just saw on Facebook that GitUp have got a new phone app, so I'm going to find that somewhere. But also I'll try out one of my FPV leads that I've already got that works with my FPV video transmitter. Well, I've got it on charge, and it's easy to see when it's charging because you've got a nice little icon there, and no doubt the lights go out once it's charged. Right, well, installing the Wi-Fi app was straightforward enough. You just need to go to Google Play Store, or whatever they call it now, and look for the GitUp app. Install it, fire up the camera with a 2 or 3 second press of the button. Go into the third lot of settings, which is 1, 2 presses of the power button. Open that up, and then with a bit of luck you can see there it says Wi-Fi off. So if I scroll down by using the power button, press the shutter button, Wi-Fi on. Press settings, come out of that. Now you can see there's a little Wi-Fi symbol there, so the Wi-Fi is activated on the camera. Go into settings on my phone, Wi-Fi, GitUp F1, no internet access detected. Connect. Give it a couple of minutes. Connected, no internet, it'll pop up and say, do you really want to connect? Well, it sometimes pops up and says, do you really want to connect? Perhaps it's not going to do it this time, just to prove me wrong. But then I'll go into the GitUp app. Anyway, so that should now be there. Connect your camera. And as you can see, we have live view from the camera. As you can see, it's saying I'm in normal mode, in other words, not time-lapse or burst photos. Resolution 1080-60, 16:9. You've got some symbols along here, video camera. That obviously will start recording. Countdown there, stop recording. Tools there, which doesn't seem to do anything in this. Change from camera to video. So I'm now in stills mode, 8 megapixels, 16:9, so on. Take a still. Show me battery level in the camera. Now this is a settings menu that does work. So with that you can actually go in and change photo setting size and so on, because at the moment I'm in photo mode. If I come out of that and go back into video mode, and go into settings again, I can change video settings. Video stabilization, I'm sure they mean EIS or gyro stabilization. So basically you can do pretty much anything that you can do with the camera by doing it with the phone app. But I mean, one big advantage of course is if you wanted to record some wildlife or something, you could actually put the camera somewhere, monitor the situation. Say it was if you're lucky enough to have some golden eagles nesting near you, you could put the camera up there, and when they fly back in you could start record from a distance. You'd need to make sure of course that the camera wasn't on auto shutdown, otherwise you'd have to climb the tree again and start it again. So that's one little point to bear in mind. Now you've got a symbol there that shows the contents of the camera, or in other words, camera card, and there's a lot on it because I took a lot of test clips, so it's taken a while because of course it's got to look at all the files on there. And this was my FPV video from the churchyard just now, but obviously looking at that you can go through and select, delete, download to your phone, so that you can actually, in other words, you can download the files from here and show it to people on your phone. Or if you've got a tablet and you're out doing some action sport somewhere, you could review the footage while you're out and about. But obviously you can play, this very interesting clip of the arcade here, for example. You could review this while you're out and about. So it does pretty much everything you can do with the camera. Very useful app, and it hasn't crashed on me. It's been easy to install, so no doubt will prove very useful to people. Of course you could also use it, I should have said. Oh, you've got sound there too, obviously, buffering. You could also of course use it for FPV flying on a quadcopter or drone, but using the Wi-Fi connection, although you'll probably get a range of, actually you might get 20 or 30 meters, which isn't bad. So generally speaking, the range of smartphone Wi-Fi apps is 10 or 20 meters. It depends on the phone. So I hope that's helpful. One thing I would say is, you can see blue light flashes when the Wi-Fi is activated. Now if you leave that on all the time, it's going to use a fair bit of battery power. So I suggest you do as I would do. Go into setup, and you can see Wi-Fi there. Let's set up a couple of presses of the power button. Scroll down to that, and by pressing the shutter button, turn it off when you're not using it. Press settings again and I'm back into normal using mode. Right, long press of the power button and I've turned it off. So I think that covers that. Any questions? Have a look down in comments below, because somebody's probably asked it before. Well, before looking at some test clips, let's take a look at my FPV setup. Right, well here we are in the local churchyard. Very low winter sun, not the ideal conditions for testing a camera, but here's my quadcopter with the new GitUp F1 mounted on it. Transmitter there, that's all wired into the LiPo, plus as you can see I've got a motorised gimbal. So I'm going to fly up and get some footage of the church, and this first footage is at 1080 60 frames a second with the gyro on. There's my monitor, which is not looking at anything interesting, just looking at the grass. That's got a receiver there, cloverleaf antenna, and it's all powered by a 3S LiPo 12 volts. Right, this is the mount I used the second time after trying to fly with a motorised gimbal. This was actually supplied with the X21 to hold the FPV Wi-Fi camera that was mounted on it. And that's a little extra clip I got from Amazon somewhere, just to hook in there. That seemed to work pretty well actually. Quite a soft mount, but not too much jello. Right, this is the first of my test shots. This is at 1080-60 with the EIS, that's gyro stabilization, on. There's no screen, but it's a 160 degree wide angle lens, so hopefully I shall get something here. That's down into the harbour, and it's winter now, so very low sun. This is audio from the camera, of course. It's very low sun, so a lot of this is in shadow, but gives you some idea of the image quality and the sharpness. And I find it interesting to zoom in on the shop signs. And now for comparison of trying to read the shop signs or zoom in on them, this is 4K superfine with the highest sharpness level, and I shall zoom in and see how well you can read the shop signs. Right, well, this is still at 1080-60, gyro stabilization on. I'd point out too that default settings are super fine in the sharpness settings, and I've put everything down to normal, but I'll do another clip in 4K in super fine to show you just what the difference is, or see how much difference there is. But there's some good detail here on the cottages, on the windows, and they are in some sunshine, and the rigging on the boats is a good indication of the sharpness as well. Right, well, this is at 4K, and now it's in superfine, and that is native 4K, as opposed to interpolated that most cameras have. So this is genuine 4K from this tiny little camera. So we'll see just how sharp the window frames and the rigging look when I zoom in on this. And of course, gyro stabilization doesn't work when you're in 4K mode, and that's the same with nearly all cameras. It is quite windy, so you might get a lot of wind noise with this. Right, now we're back at 1080-60 here, with just normal for sharpness and not extra fine or anything special, just the kind of bog standard settings. Gyro on. Still windy and cold. Now this is a challenging test because we are pretty much straight into the sun here, and I'm obviously walking along with this camera, so we'll see how this goes. Very low winter sun, which makes quite difficult conditions for cameras to deal with, actually, because you get very high contrast. Into the arcade, which is in fact very dark. You've just got light from the machines. And back into the light.